Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another big edition of the Friday Preview. Week 3 in the EFL. We've already had 4 matches, 4 great games played across Anzac Day, but it is time to have a look at all the big games that will be going on this Saturday afternoon. I'm Ben Waterworth, and joining me to have a look at all the games, 2 very esteemed men on the EFL media team. Let's start with the wise one. Great to have Ray Baird in here at EFL House this afternoon. Hello, Ray.
Hello, Ben, and it's great to be back. And boy, more football again tomorrow.
Can't wait, bring it on. Can't get enough of the football, and one man who certainly shares that sentiment is Wayne Brasher. Hello, Wayne.
Good evening, Ben. Absolute pleasure to be part of the preview again this week.
Let's start with Division 4, Ray, and it's the Ferntree Gully Eagles taking on Park Orchards. Ferntree Gully, one of the form teams in Division 4 at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly were. Look, they came off a 35-point win last week against Coldstream, and most people would have expected Coldstream to win that game, but no, to all their credit, Ferntree Gully, look, they're obviously playing a very fast run-on style of football this year, and look, they were served very well last week by Paul Giannopoulos, the evergreen Paul Giannopoulos. He just keeps going, and Robbie McCone, he put in a very good game as well. And look, they come up against Park Orchard, who was in the radio game last week, and they won a close one after probably trailing on most of the day against the Eastern Lions. And look, both these sides will play a similar sort of game. They like to get the ball out wide, they like to run it, and it's going to be a very close contest, I feel. But look, I think that on current form over the 2 games that we've seen so far, I think Ferntree Gully is going to get over the line.
Wayne, Canterbury take on South Belgrave. We see Canterbury sitting on the bottom of the ladder at the moment against South Belgrave, who are looking pretty menacing at the moment.
Yes, Ben. South Belgrave make the trip down to Canterbury tomorrow with both sides in contrasting form. South Belgrave haven't put a foot wrong in the opening 2 games of the season, easily accounting for Sylvan and Forest Hill, whilst Canterbury have been soundly beaten in both encounters. It's hard to mount a case for a Canterbury victory. With an average losing margin of 75 points after their first 2 games, it is obvious that their backline is having real problems in containing their opposition counterparts. This does not fare well for Canterbury, as the South Belgrave forward line is in great form, with the likes of Backens, Odermatt and Appleby providing multiple scoring options, which Canterbury will find too hot to handle. All Cobras coach Andrew Lamana can ask of his players is to go out there and have a red-hot go, but for mine, South Belgrave pack too much firepower and will take the points in a big margin.
Very interesting game tomorrow afternoon, Ray. It's Surrey Park taking on Coldstream. Who would have thought a couple of weeks ago that this could be arguably game of the round in Division 4?
Yeah, look, there's been 2 different starts to the season by both these clubs. Look, Coldstream, they've lost both their encounters, but look, I don't think they're terribly worried at this stage, Coldstream. But look, it's a game tomorrow that they certainly got to win. But they come up against Surrey Park. We all know the Surrey Park story, but look, they've had a bye. They've had a week to get over all those celebrations. But going back to round 1, look, they were served very well by their captain, Matt Jeffries, and also Seamus Herrick's down there on the back line. But this is a side that's improved. They've got bigger. That round 1, they played the game on their terms. And look, it's going to be a danger game here for Coldstream. But look, I think that Coldstream in the end, look, Matty Price played last week after missing round 1. He's going to get better because of that run. I'd love to pick Surrey Park, but look, no, I think Coldstream's going to get over, and I think by about 4 goals.
The Battle of the Lion Kings tomorrow afternoon, Wayne, because it is the Nunawading Lions against the Eastern Lions. Which line will reign supreme?
Interesting matchup at Koonung Park tomorrow sees Nunawading take on Eastern Lions, with both sides yet to open their account in the 2013 season. Nunawading coach Frank Salonici would be extremely disappointed with Nunawading's start to the year, being soundly beaten in the opening rounds, whilst Eastern Lions went down marginally against Park Orchards last week. That being said, Eastern Lions have been touted as a big improver this season, so expectations will be high, and they will get their opportunity tomorrow to open their account. Eastern Lions will look to Hollower and Fraser to continue their good form in front of goals, whilst Nunawading will rely on Harrop to keep them in touch. Nunawading's defence has been their Achilles heel so far, and they lack potency in their forward line to kick a winning score. In a close encounter, I'm tipping the Eastern Lions to get the points, but only just.
Well, we talked about beforehand, Ray, that Surrey Park and Coldstream might be game of the round, but Forest Hill and Sylvan probably literally is the game of the round. A ripping opportunity for the Zebras to really announce themselves in Division 4.
Yeah, look, the Zebras, they were fantastic last week. They kicked 20 goals. They had a 95-point win over Canterbury. We know Canterbury's struggling, but, to win by that margin, they certainly went about their business last week. And then big return there from Jamoa. Is it 5 goals down there? And Ryan Fisher, Jake Rowe, they snipped in. So they've got goal kickers. I think they've had about 9 or 10 goal kickers last week. So look, they're going to be full of confidence down there at Forest Hill. But they come up against Sylvan. In round 1, they were super impressive. I saw them up there at Sylvan. But last week they were okay to quarter time. But then a bit of pressure put on them by South Belgrave. Sylvan, they've got to turn it around if they're going to be a top side this year. It's going to be a very close encounter. And look, I'm going to pick Forest Hill to get over Sylvan in a close finish.
Division 4 done and dusted, gentlemen. Of course, you're listening to the Friday preview, all thanks to Inside Football, the magazine for the fair income footy fan, available at your local news agents, or you can download it on your iPhone or iPad. Brash, let's have a look at Division 3. The Battle of Manningham. Warrandyte taking on Doncaster. These two teams haven't met for a couple of years, but the Bloods are playing their first game back at Warrandyte Reserve. They'll be playing out of temporary club rooms, and Doncaster, gosh, were they impressive last weekend.
Yes, a really good match set down for decision at Warrandyte Reserve, with Warrandyte taking on Doncaster tomorrow. Both sides with a 1-1 record this season will be looking forward to being on the positive side of the ledger after tomorrow's match. That being said, the match comes down to one player, and that's Doncaster's ex-AFL star Nathan Thompson, who with 13 goals for the season was instrumental in Doncaster's demolition of Glen Waverley Hawks. Other players like Anarchis, Muller and Sikavalis got amongst the goals last week. They will be looking forward to prove that Doncaster are not a one-trick pony. Warrandyte's form has been solid without being spectacular, but if the game gets close, they have the ability to hang tough and eke out a win. Warrandyte's defence will need to be at their very best, with their midfield needing to support them so that their forward line led by Hookie and Clapham can kick a winning score. If Warrandyte can negate Thompson's goal-kicking prowess, they win. If not, Doncaster to win comfortably by 5.
The Whitehorse Pioneers take on Baronia, Ray. Looking at the two teams on paper, you'd think Baronia would be able to win this one quite comfortably. Having said that, the Hawks went down last weekend. Yeah,
the Hawks, that was a surprise, the Hawks going down to Wanturna South last week, but they were very impressive in round 1, but then they lost again, so a little bit of inconsistency there, but they come up against Whitehorse Pioneers. They had a 37-point loss last week to Mitcham. I thought that they were serviceable in that game. That's what I say about them. They didn't get blown out the water, but they still lost by 37 points. Look, they're a very good string of goal kickers, Whitehorse Pioneers, so I feel that if they can get the ball down there, I don't know what the inside 50s were, but if they can get the ball down there, they look at Marcus Tippett there, he's kicked 5 goals, Tim Laws kicked 3 last week, and a string of single goal kickers, so let's hope that they can get the ball down more often into their forward 50, but look, I think that the might of the Baronia side are coming off a loss. They've got to get back on the winning, and I think that Baronia is going to win this one quite easily.
Brash, Heathmont and Chirnside Park has turned into a pretty interesting game, particularly after the Jets surprised the Redbacks last weekend.
Yeah, at H.E. Parker Reserve tomorrow, Heathmont take on Chirnside Park in an early season mid-table clash. Much has been spoken about Heathmont's demise this year after losing key forward Sheen and Odomat on the back of their loss to Mitcham the previous week. But faith was restored last week against the much-vaunted Ringwood side in the Parker Cup in a hard-fought win, even after an even first quarter. Chirnside Park, on the other hand, have had 2 honourable losses without setting the world on fire, and coach Lee Horsburgh will try to expose Heathmont's defence in the hope of kicking a winning score. In a close game with home field advantage, Heathmont to get over the line by 2 goals.
Ray, the Basin have got off to a magnificent start in Division 3, 2 and zip, and they come up against Ringwood, one of the premiership favourites pre-season, who are zip and 2.
Yeah, look, the Basin, they come off a 35-point win over Warrandyte. Warrandyte did quite well in that game, but the Basin, they got the points. They didn't have it all their own way. But look, to me, the big thing with the Basin, they got goal kickers down there. Andy Colcheri kicked 6 last week, 7 in the first round. Brent Galicchio, 3 last week, 4 in the first round. But I look at their strength is they're all over the field performers. Trevor Mills, Craig Christie, Andrew Colchero, Michael Thompson, Jordan Stack. The list just goes on. We all know what they did last year, but they're going on with it this year. So they come up against Ringwood, and Ringwood, well, as you said, look, they've been very disappointing in their two losses so far this year. Look, they've got to get more out of Trent Farmer. They've got to get more. I don't know whether their coach Brent James is going to play tomorrow or not, but look, if he's not, they need to get him back on the field because they need his leadership out there. They've been very disappointing in their two losses. But look, and I think that they're going to be zip 3 after round 3. I'm going to pick the Basin in quite easily in this game.
And the big one in Division 3 tomorrow, Brash, is the radio game. Templestowe taking on Wantirna South out there at Porter Street. We're looking forward to broadcasting this one on 98.1 FM and, of course, streaming from onefl.org.au from 2 p.m. It's going to be a fantastic contest.
Yeah, great contest here, being Templestowe hosts Wantirna South in a cracking game to be decided tomorrow. Neither side have put a foot wrong, 2 from 2, and with a great opportunity to solidify their position in the top part of the ladder. I feel the game will come down to which midfield can control the game and set up their respective forward lines with an opportunities to kick a winning score. Simon Grasser has settled in well with his new club, with the Bain brothers Matthew and Jamie being a handful for any opposition. Wantirna South have enough forward class of their own, with Badome and Phillips providing good focal points, with the ever-reliable Scott Edgecombe and Michael Jamieson being very dangerous players who the opposition will need to respect and pay attention to. All things being equal, I'm going to tip an upset here, with Wantirna South to get the victory away from home against a gallant Templestowe.
There you have it, gentlemen. Division 3 done and dusted. You're listening to the Friday preview, all thanks to Inside Football, the magazine, now under the SEN banner. It is the must-read for the fair dinkum footy fan. Get it at your newsagents, Woolworths, or download it on your iPhone or iPad. Ray, the first game we're going to have a look at in Division 2 is the game you're going to be seeing tomorrow, Bayswater taking on Croydon. The Waters are off to a shaky start, to say the least, whereas Croydon will be confident after last weekend's win.
Yeah, look, Croydon, they were very impressive last week. A 54-point win over the Waverley Blues. Look, they had to start winning. They're too good a side. They only dropped by 11 points in round 1 to Mirrabah, so they haven't been that bad. Tomorrow they take on Bayswater at Bayswater. Bayswater last week, they had a 3-point loss in a very tight game to Donvale. But the thing I look at that in Croydon's favour tomorrow is that they ran out of puff. They kicked only 1 goal to Donvale's 3 to be run over in the last quarter. And you look at the Croydon side, I think they're just going to be, they're too big. They're too bigger bodies, and that's the deficiency that Bayswater have this year. Look, they're going to be gallant, Bayswater, but look, and maybe stick with Croydon for a half. But look, I think in the end that Croydon's going to run away with this by probably 3 or 4 goals.
Brash, Upper Ferntree Gully take on North Ringwood. Good opportunity for Upper Ferntree Gully to test themselves, but North Ringwood, haven't they taken Division 2 by storm?
Yeah, Upper Ferntree Gully return to Kings Park tomorrow to take on a red-hot North Ringwood outfit. Apart from Montrose, there is not a better side running around in Division 2 than the Saints. After outclassing Doncaster East by 126 points, they repeated the dose when they easily accounted for a disappointing Mulgrave by 54 points. North Ringwood's defence is solid, their midfield run hard and provide numerous scoring opportunities for their forwards. Upper Ferntree Gully could easily turn out to be the Jekyll and Hyde side of Division 2 this year, as their form so far fluctuates from week to week. Not much more to be said about this game, but for me, North Ringwood to win in a convincing manner.
In the final game we'll have a look at in Division 2. Of course, only 3 games in Division 2 we'll look at because 2 were played yesterday. But Ray, Mulgrave taking on Montrose. Mulgrave went down to North Ringwood last weekend, but Montrose are the sexy team of Division 2. They are hot to trot.
They are sexy, are they, Ben?
Something along those lines, yes.
Yeah, but look, they're certainly the juggernaut of Division 2 this year. And look, they come up against Mulgrave. Look, Mulgrave, they got smashed last week by North Ringwood. Look, they've got to do better tomorrow. Look, they've got to get more out of their experienced players. But look, because they're relying heavily on David Wazer to kick their goals down there. You know, they've got some very good players still. Sebastian Henderson, Jameer, Ryan, Booth, you know, but all these players have got a fire. They've got a fire because they're coming up against the juggernaut, as I said. And you look at the Montrose size. Look, last week they were only 9 point in the lead at half-time against Mirrabah last year, and they blew that out to an 83-point shellacking. But look, they're just a class size, Montrose. Look, Billy Schilling, Dylan Rickard, Mark Watson, Brett Johnson, they're all goal kickers. And then you look at their back line. Their back line just full of strength. There's stars all over the line, over the ground there. Montrose, they're going to win this. Another blowout for Montrose.
Only 3 games to look at in Division 2 this weekend. Of course, you're listening to the Friday preview, all thanks to Inside Football, the Fair Dinkum read for the Fair Dinkum footy fan. Let's have a look at Division 1, Brash, which is your specialty, and East Ringwood and Noble Park is the first game we will preview. East Ringwood, tell you what, they were very close to knocking off Norwood last weekend, just a little last quarter fade out, whereas Noble Park, gosh, they'll be hungry to amend last weekend.
You're right there, Ben. Noble Park will be stung after last week's loss to Blackburn and the barest of margins, with the game being nip and tuck all day. The run of Anderson and the creativity of Allen would have been a loss to the Noble Park structure, and I'm sure Mick Fogarty would be disappointed to let that one get away. On the other hand, East Ringwood have lost some seasoned campaigners from last year, and with some young players have put in a spirited opposition for 3 quarters against Norwood last week. Can Bernie Deneen conjure a master plan to bring down the might of the Bulls? Unfortunately, they say in the classics that hell have no fury on a team scorned, and Noble Park will want to reassert their authority and send a clear message to all sides in Division 1 that last week's loss was just an aberration. Noble Park by 5 goals plus.
Roval take on South Croydon tomorrow, Raymondo. Roval got a bit of a Division 1 reality check last weekend, whereas the Doggies are going for 3 in a row in Division 1, the first time that will ever happen if they are able to pull it off.
Yeah, and this game is played at the Scoresby Recreation Reserve also, Ben. But look, Roval, what do? You pull your hair out if you're a Roval supporter. Round 1, they knocked Vermont off. You look at Roval, look, they were very consistent in the first half last week, but after half-time, you can't concede 11 goals to 1 and expect to play Division 1 football, because I felt that they went back to playing Division 2 football after half-time last week, and they come up against South Croydon. As you said, look, for 2 serviceable wins there over Lilydale and Scoresby, and you look at the scoreline, those 2 games, there hasn't been a lot in it, so it just proves to me that South Croydon, they're a side that hang in there, and they never give in, and look, they've got some good goal kickers down there in the King boys, and they're going to be miles too good for Roval. I think they're going to win this by about 7 or 8 goals.
Interesting clash between Knox and Scoresby tomorrow afternoon, Brash. If Scoresby want to really announce themselves and get themselves off towards that bottom of the ladder area, this is a game they must be competitive in and really must win.
Yes, you're right there, Ben, but if there was ever an opportunity that presented itself for the taking, then Knox have it tomorrow against Scoresby. Knox have started the season well and sit third with solid wins against Eastfield and Blackburn, while Scoresby are in unfamiliar territory with 2 losses against Norwood and South Croydon. Much has been said about the departure of the players from the Scoresby Football Club in the off-season, but the presence of Marcius, Van Reenen and Parker can still see the Magpies a competitive unit. If Knox can reduce Van Reenen's influence in the ruck and play their trademark miserly defence game, they will win hands down. With the best fullback in the business, Jacob Casterton, leading the way, and the evergreen Luke Williams, who leads from the front, who runs around all over the ground and is one of the hardest matchups in the competition, I'm tipping Knox to gain some sweet revenge tomorrow in a close game by 3 goals.
Vermont's long innings in the Eastern Football League continues tomorrow, Bray, because it is the 1,000th game for the club in the Eastern Football League. The first time that a club has ever achieved that, a magnificent achievement that means that they'll be raising the bat for the 10th time if you're a cricketer out there, because they've made 1,000 games. They come up against Norwood, though, who on paper are every chance to spoil the party.
Yeah, look, Norwood, they're a very good side. You know, they've improved on last year because last year, as we all know, their game plan was very defensive. They're kicking 17, 18 goals a game now, and if you kick that, you usually blow the opposition out. But look, they're coming up against Vermont. You know, a huge game for Vermont, and we know that Vermont live for these on these big occasions. And you look at the Vermont side, they're getting a great return from the return of Ash Froud from Sylvan. He's become a goal kicker for them down there. And look, Thomas Schneider. Look, he's just starting to get the feel of EFL football, what it's all about. Our best on-ground performance last week. And Norwood, look, they just go on about their business. As I said, they've changed their game plan from last year. And look, I'm going to pick, although it's a big occasion, and they do rise Vermont to these occasions, but I think that Norwood's just going to have their measure, and they're going to go in zip 3.
And the final game we'll have a look at, Brash, is Baldwin taking on Lilydale. We just talked about Fairmont with Ray just beforehand, but we can't take anything away from Baldwin last weekend, who were outstanding against the Eagles, but Lilydale were just as impressive. The
reigning premiers Baldwin travel up the highway this week to take on Lilydale tomorrow, who will be feeling very happy with themselves after a 68-point win last week against Roval. Baldwin, on the other hand, came up against Vermont in the grand final replay and won a hard-fought 17-point victory. In recent encounters, Baldwin have had problems adapting to the Lilydale venue, but have always found a way to win when it counts. I see the game being competitive in the first half, with the matching highlights of Ashraf Davies taking on Ryan McMahon in the middle. Baldwin are a very balanced side. Defence provides run led by Rod Crow. McMahon and Ryan cut a swathe through the midfield, and Goebbels, Barker and co look to have far too much potency and class for their opposition. With the additional Hogle twins and the dangerous McCutcheon in the forward line adding their considerable talent, Baldwin will pack too many guns for the Falcons and win by 10 goals plus tomorrow.
There you have it, gents. All games in the Eastern Football League for tomorrow, at least, done and dusted. Nicely previewed. Make sure you tune in tomorrow afternoon from 1 till 5 p.m. on 98.1 FM for Templestowe and Wantirna South. The battle of the undefeated teams in Division 3. Of course, we'll be streaming right here on efl.org.au from 2 p.m. Never forget Akira EFL Sunday on 98.1 FM from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Of course, Akira Urgent Care will have you off the sidelines in no time. And then never forget the Mighty Huddle Ray, a very, very good show between 6 to 7 p.m. on 98.1 Radio Eastern. Wayne Brasher, thanks for your work, and best of luck for all the things that we'll be having at Vermont Recreation Reserve tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ben.
And Ray, we look forward to hearing your dulcet tones on 98.1 FM and, of course, right here on efl.org.au many times throughout the season.
Thanks, Ben.
This has been the Friday preview, all thanks to Inside Football. And as a wise man once said, stick a fork in us, we're done.